The day the Malthar Dominion set their eyes on Earth was the day humanity unknowingly became the prey of an unstoppable hunter. It wasn't a loud declaration of war or an immediate attack. It started in silence, a quiet, almost unnoticeable moment in the vastness of space. But when the Malthar descended, they didn't come as diplomats or explorers. They came as conquerors, intent on eradicating what they saw as an insignificant species. The Malthar Dominion had never been challenged. Their warships, a fearsome sight, had swept through countless star systems, bringing them to their knees with cold efficiency. They had the power to crush entire civilizations, to wipe out planets with one word. Their most terrifying weapon, the Cerebrus, had no equal. It was a weapon of mass destruction, built not just for war, but for annihilation. When the Malthar came to Earth, they expected an easy victory. They studied the humans, small, fragile creatures with limited technology. But there was something they didn't account for: human defiance. Human strength wasn't measured in technology alone. It was the fire in the heart, the stubborn refusal to surrender, even in the face of overwhelming odds. The Malthar didn't care about the strength of the humans. They believed their weapon would crush Earth effortlessly. Their arrogance clouded their judgment. And so they sent their message, a challenge. "Send us your best pilot," the transmission said, "or face extinction. We will choose a weapon and it will be your undoing." The humans sat in stunned silence. A challenge. The world leaders gathered, not sure how to respond. What did the Malthar want with a pilot? They didn't have anything like the Cerebrus. Earth didn't have weapons like that. They had soldiers, sure, but nothing that could rival the might of an intergalactic war machine. The debate raged on for hours until a voice spoke up from the crowd. It was a voice many hadn't expected to hear. It was a young girl's voice, Mia Collins, just 12 years old, standing at the back of the room. She wasn't a soldier, not a general, not a hero. She was just a farm girl from Montana, known for her sharp mind and her love of machines. "I'll do it," she said. There was a shocked silence. The leaders turned to look at her, unsure if she was joking. But Mia's face was serious. The child who had never left Earth's atmosphere, who had never flown in a real fighter jet, was volunteering to face the galaxy's deadliest weapon. "I'll pilot it," she repeated, her voice steady, though her heart was pounding in her chest. She had grown up watching her father, a retired pilot, and she'd spent hours tinkering with old engines, fixing broken tractors, and studying everything she could about machines. She knew nothing about the Cerebrus, but she knew how to control a machine, how to make it move, how to make it work. The room was filled with uncertainty. Could they really send a child to fight an enemy with a weapon so powerful that no one had ever survived it? Was this just a foolish idea? They didn't have time to argue. The Malthar were coming, and Earth had no other options. Mia didn't wait for anyone's permission. She walked up to the podium, her eyes focused, not on the leaders but on the task ahead. "I'll face it. I'll face them. Just give me the chance." Her father, sitting in the back of the room, stood up, his heart torn. He wanted to stop her, wanted to tell her it was too dangerous, but he knew his daughter. Mia wasn't just any girl, she was determined, unyielding. If she said she could do it, then maybe, just maybe, she could. The leaders, though hesitant, had no choice. They gave their approval. Mia was sent to the training facility, where human pilots struggled to master the machines they'd been given. The Cerebrus was unlike anything the humans had ever encountered. It was a massive, hulking creature of metal and energy, a war machine designed to tear through anything in its path. Its controls were unlike any human technology. The Malthar had designed it to respond to a warrior's instincts, not a machine's logic. But Mia wasn't like the others. While the pilots around her struggled trying to understand the alien technology, Mia connected with it in a way they couldn't. She wasn't trying to fight the machine. She wasn't trying to control it. She was listening to it. She felt its rhythm, its pulse, like a heart beating inside her own chest. The Cerebrus wasn't just a weapon, it was an extension of herself. For days, Mia trained. She wasn't just learning how to fly, she was learning how to survive. Her heart pounded in her chest every time she climbed into the cockpit, but she refused to let fear take over. The world was watching her, but she wasn't fighting for glory. She was fighting for survival, Earth's survival. When the day came, Mia climbed into the Cerberus's cockpit. She wasn't a trained soldier or a fighter. She was just a girl. But she was the only one who stood a chance. She wasn't going to run. She wasn't going to back down. As the massive alien fleet appeared on the horizon, Mia tightened her grip on the controls. The Malthar were coming, and she was ready. The battle for Earth was about to begin, and it would be fought by a child, facing a weapon designed to destroy everything. She wasn't scared. She was ready, and the Malthar would soon learn that humans didn't just survive, they fought back. Mia's heart raced as she stood in front of the Cerberus. The towering machine loomed over her like a beast ready to be tamed, its cold metallic surface reflecting the harsh lights of the military training facility. It was hard to believe that just a few days ago, she was back home on her father's farm, fixing tractors and dreaming of flying. Now, she was facing the most powerful weapon ever created by an alien race, a weapon that could end humanity with a single strike. The facility was quiet, too quiet. The other pilots who were supposed to operate the Cerberus had failed, their nerves breaking under the pressure. They couldn't control it. The Malthar had designed the machine for a warrior's mind, a mind trained in war, not for a child who had never even left Earth's atmosphere. But Mia wasn't like them. She didn't have the training, but she had something else. She had her father's spirit in her, the courage to keep going, no matter how impossible the odds seemed. As she approached the Cerberus's open cockpit, the hum of its engines vibrated in her chest. She hesitated for only a second before climbing inside, securing herself in the seat. The control panel was a maze of alien technology, strange buttons and levers that seemed to mock her with their complexity. For a moment, she felt a wave of doubt. Was she really ready for this? She closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and thought of home. Her father's worn-out leather jacket, the smell of fresh-cut hay. The long nights spent staring at the stars, dreaming of something bigger. The thought grounded her. She wasn't just doing this for her own sake. She was doing it for Earth, for everyone. Ready, Mia whispered to herself. The Cerberus's massive engines roared to life, and Mia felt the ground shake beneath her. This was no longer a simulation. This was the real thing. Outside, the world leaders and military commanders watched nervously from a distance. They had no idea if Mia would succeed or if she would fail like the others before her. Their hopes rested on the shoulders of a child. The weight of it all pressed down on them, but Mia didn't feel it. Her mind was clear. She was calm. She was focused. "Launch sequence engaged," came the cold, mechanical voice from the Cerberus. It was the only thing that broke the silence as the machine rose slowly into the air, its engines emitting a low, menacing growl. The vastness of the sky stretched out before Mia, and for the first time she felt the power of the Cerberus beneath her. She wasn't just in control of a machine. She was commanding a force of destruction, a weapon so powerful that it could obliterate an entire city with one shot. And yet, instead of fear, Mia felt something else, a strange connection. The Cerberus wasn't a monster to her. It was a partner, an extension of herself. Together, they would fight back. As she flew higher, Mia's comms crackled with the voice of General Richards, the commander of Earth's forces. "Mia, we've got the Malthar fleet coming in hot. They're about 20 minutes out. You have to stop them." Mia's fingers tightened around the controls. Her thoughts were sharp, clear. This wasn't just about a fight. It was about survival. If she didn't stop the Malthar, Earth would fall. But Mia wasn't just going to sit back and let that happen. She had made up her mind. She would not fail. The Cerberus's radar flickered to life. The Malthar fleet was approaching, hundreds of ships, all heading for Earth with the intent to destroy. The black void of space was soon filled with their dark silhouettes, and Mia could feel the weight of their presence. The battle was coming. She wasn't just fighting for Earth's survival. She was fighting to prove that humanity could never be underestimated. "Target locked," the Cerebrus's computer voice announced. Mia didn't hesitate. Her hands moved with instinct, her mind working in tandem with the machine. The Malthar ships were swift, aggressive, but Mia was faster, more agile. As she engaged them, the Cerebrus reacted to her every thought, every movement. Her fingers pressed buttons, pulled levers, and suddenly the Cerebrus shot forward, slicing through space like a spear. The enemy fleet fired at her, but she dodged and weaved, her movements quick, unpredictable. The first Malthar ship fell in an explosion of fire and debris. Mia's breath caught in her throat, but she didn't slow down. She couldn't. The Malthar were relentless. They would not stop until Earth was nothing but ashes. Her comms crackled again, this time with the voice of General Jor, the Malthar leader. You dare challenge us, human. You are nothing more than a child, and you will be destroyed. Mia's lips curled into a smirk. We'll see about that. She fired the Cerebrus's main weapon, an energy blast so powerful that it could disintegrate anything in its path. The Malthar ship that had been taunting her exploded into nothingness, leaving only a cloud of space dust behind. The other ships hesitated for a moment. They weren't used to facing an enemy who fought back. The Malthar had always been the aggressors, the ones who brought destruction. But this time they were facing something different. They were facing a human, a child, who had refused to bend to their will. The fight was just beginning, and as Mia locked onto another target, she knew one thing for sure. The Malthar had made a terrible mistake underestimating humanity. They weren't going to win this fight, not if she had anything to say about it. Mia's hands shook as the Cerebrus glided through the empty blackness of space, but her mind was clear. The battle was far from over. The Malthar fleet had regrouped and their ships were closing in fast. Mia's breath was steady, though every instinct screamed at her to be afraid. But fear had no place in this fight. Earth depended on her, and she wasn't about to let it fall. 16 ships remaining, the cold, mechanical voice of the Cerebrus announced. The words felt heavy in Mia's chest. It wasn't just a number. Each one of those ships carried an army that could erase everything she knew and loved. Her family, her friends, the whole world. If she failed, Earth would be no more. Mia's fingers tightened around the controls. She wasn't a soldier. She wasn't even a trained pilot. But she had something none of them did, a heart that refused to give up, no matter how impossible the situation seemed. It was a human thing, an Earth thing. Ahead, the Malthar ships swarmed, their black hulls like shadows in the vastness of space. They fired in perfect coordination, launching blast after blast toward Mia's ship. She could feel the heat of the lasers even though the vacuum of space would keep them from ever reaching her skin. The Cerebrus jolted with every hit, but Mia gritted her teeth, pushing the machine to its limits. The Cerebrus was a weapon of mass destruction, and Mia was learning how to wield it. Her hands flew across the control panel, activating the thrusters and maneuvering the ship with precision. She danced through the barrage of fire, ducking and weaving with movements that felt as natural as breathing. Each Malthar shot missed, barely skimming past her as she outpaced them. "You can't outrun us forever, human," General Jor's voice crackled over the comms. His words dripped with disdain, but there was something in his voice now, something Mia recognized. It was doubt. Mia's lips curled into a small smile. "I don't need to outrun you. I just need to outsmart you." The Cerebrus shuddered as Mia fired back, her aim true. One Malthar ship disintegrated in a fiery explosion, then another, and another. The Malthar fleet was beginning to break apart, but Mia knew they wouldn't give up, not without a fight. The comms buzzed with another message from General Jor, his voice colder this time. "You may have destroyed our ships, human, but you can never defeat the Malthar. We are more than just an army. We are a force of nature." Mia's heart pounded in her chest, but she didn't let the fear take hold. The more the Malthar spoke, the more they revealed their arrogance. It was their weakness, and she was going to use it. Her hands gripped the controls again, her mind sharp as a knife. She could see the remaining Malthar ships closing in, their energy cannons charging for another assault. But Mia wasn't going to let them fire first. She initiated the Cerebrus's special feature, an experimental defense system that the Malthar hadn't anticipated, a powerful force field that could absorb the energy of their blasts and redirect it back at them. "Energy shield activated," the voice announced. Mia's pulse quickened. She had only used the shield once in training, and that had been in a simulation. But this wasn't a game. This was real. She braced herself as the first wave of Malthar fire collided with the shield. The Cerebrus shuddered under the force, but Mia held steady. She focused, guiding the ship with the ease of a child riding a bike. With a flick of her wrist, she redirected the absorbed energy back at the Malthar fleet. The results were instant. One by one, the Malthar ships erupted in brilliant flashes of light as their own weapons turned against them. Their shields, designed to block human firepower, were powerless against their own energy. "Impossible," General Jor's voice crackled through the comms, his frustration barely contained. You're nothing but a child. This is not how the galaxy works." Mia's smile widened, though her heart was racing. "Guess you're about to learn something new." With the Malthar ships falling one by one, Mia pushed the Cerebrus to its limits. She was no longer just defending. She was attacking, hunting down the remaining ships with a speed and ferocity that stunned even her. The once imposing Malthar fleet was now scattered, retreating in disarray. But even as the tide of battle shifted, Mia knew the fight wasn't over. General Jor still had one card to play. As Mia locked onto another target, her sensors began to buzz with a warning. The Cerebrus's systems detected a massive energy signature, a ship bigger than any the Malthar had deployed so far. It was the flagship, the heart of their fleet. The massive Malthar ship appeared, its dark form blocking out the stars behind it. It was an unimaginable sight, twice the size of any ship Mia had seen, armed with weapons so advanced they made the Cerebrus look like a child's toy. Mia's breath caught in her throat. This was the moment. The Malthar were throwing everything they had left at her. The flagship's energy cannons began to power up, and Mia knew that if she didn't act fast, she wouldn't make it out alive. She glanced at the countdown clock in the corner of her visor. Less than 2 minutes before the Malthar fired. This was it. She could run, but that would mean giving up. And Mia Collins didn't give up. She pushed the Cerebrus forward, targeting the flagship's weak point. Every fiber of her being focused on the task at hand. The Cerebrus roared as it shot forward, an unstoppable force of nature aimed directly at the heart of the Malthar war machine. "Not today," Mia whispered under her breath, her hands steady on the controls. The final showdown was about to begin. Mia's heart pounded as the massive Malthar flagship loomed before her. Its dark, intimidating shape filled the viewports of the Cerebrus, blocking out the stars. It was a beast of a ship, a fortress built for destruction. Everything about it screamed power, from its energy cannons to the sleek, deadly design that seemed to mock the fragile humans who dared challenge it. But Mia wasn't afraid, she was focused. This was it, the final fight. She had already destroyed their smaller ships, but the flagship, this was the heart of the Malthar fleet. If she didn't take it down, they would regroup and come back stronger, and Earth would be doomed. The weight of the mission pressed down on her, but she refused to let it crush her. She couldn't afford to think about failure. Not now, not ever. The Malthar flagship opened fire, massive beams of energy cutting through the darkness. The Cerebrus rocked as the first blast hit, the shockwave reverberating through the hull. Mia gritted her teeth. The Cerebrus had taken hits before, but nothing like this. She could feel the power of the Malthar's weapons, their determination to crush her and Earth with every strike. Come on," Mia whispered to herself as she yanked the controls. The Cerebrus swerved just in time to dodge another blast, the ship's thrusters pushing her out of harm's way. Sweat beaded on her forehead as she flew at full speed toward the flagship. She knew one hit from that ship would be enough to end her mission, to end Earth's hope. "Not today," Mia muttered, her voice steely. She tapped the console, switching the Cerberus to its advanced attack mode. She had been waiting for this moment, the moment when all the Malthar arrogance would meet her human resolve. The Cerberus hummed, its systems syncing with her thoughts. Her heart beat in rhythm with the machine. The flagship fired again, and this time Mia didn't dodge. She aimed the Cerberus directly at the blast. Her shields flared to life, absorbing the blast's power, and for a split second the world went white. The force was overwhelming, the ship shaking so violently Mia could barely hold on. She felt her pulse in her throat, but she didn't let go. She wasn't finished yet. Through the haze, Mia locked onto the flagship's weak point, the engines. If she could disable the flagship's power, it would be helpless. She couldn't win a battle of endurance. She had to take it down now. Her hands flew over the console, activating every weapon she had at her disposal. The Cerberus fired back, a bright flash of energy streaking through space. The Malthar flagship's shield absorbed most of it, but Mia didn't give up. She adjusted her targeting system, re-aimed, and fired again. The energy beam hit the flagship's underbelly, right where the engines were. The blast cut through its defenses. The flagship's engines sparked and flickered, struggling to maintain power. For a moment, Mia thought it might actually work, but the Malthar flagship wasn't defeated yet. No, Mia breathed, her knuckles white as she clenched the controls. She couldn't back down, she couldn't let them win. This was her fight, for her world, for her family. The flagship's cannons powered up once again, and Mia knew it would fire before she could react. The countdown in her head ticked away, each second feeling like an eternity. "Come on, Cerberus," Mia muttered, sweat dripping down her face. She pulled the trigger once more, sending another energy blast straight into the heart of the flagship's engines. This time, the explosion was immediate. The Malthar ship shuddered as it began to fall apart, its massive hull crumpling from the force of the blast. The flagship tried to retaliate with a final blast, but Mia was already moving, already dodging. She punched the thrusters forward with every ounce of strength she had left, weaving in and out of the debris from the exploding ship. Behind her, the Malthar flagship erupted into a brilliant fireball, its destruction lighting up the void of space like a supernova. For a moment, Mia just stared, breathing heavily, her body buzzing with the aftershock of the fight. The massive Malthar ship was gone. She had done it. But the victory didn't feel like victory, not yet. The Malthar might be down, but they weren't out. Their fleet was in disarray, but they weren't finished. Mia knew that if she stopped, if she let her guard down for even a second, everything she had just fought for would be wasted. The comms crackled to life again. General Jor's voice came through, low and filled with rage. "You have won a battle, human, but the war is far from over. We will return. The Malthar Empire will never forget this." Mia's heart raced as she stared at the wreckage of the flagship. She had won, but the Malthar would not let this defeat go unnoticed. The war was far from over, but she had done something that no one had expected. She had turned their weapon against them. She had shown them that humanity, no matter how small, no matter how fragile, could rise up and fight back. And she had won. She took a deep breath, steadying her shaking hands. There was still more to be done. The battle was far from over, but for the first time, Mia truly believed that humanity had a chance. She wasn't just a girl from Montana anymore. She was a warrior, and the Malthar would learn to fear humanity's strength. Mia's heart was still racing from the destruction of the Malthar flagship. The explosion had been massive, too massive. Pieces of the warship floated in space like broken debris, drifting into the void. The moment felt surreal. For a brief instant, she could almost forget the danger, the pressure. She had done it. She had taken down their most powerful weapon. But the Malthar were not a race that gave up easily. Mia knew that the fight was far from over. Her victory had cost her precious time, and now there was a new threat. The Malthar fleet was in disarray, but it was far from destroyed. They were regrouping, reorganizing, and they would come back for more. Mia's hands trembled as she tightened her grip on the Cerberus's controls. The battle was only just beginning. Her comms crackled to life again. This time it was General Richards, the leader of Earth's forces. Mia, we've got multiple Malthar ships re-entering the battlefield. They're coming in fast. We need you to hold them off. You're our only chance. The weight of his words hit her like a blow to the chest. She wasn't just fighting for Earth anymore. She was the only one standing between the Malthar and complete victory. Every other ship had been destroyed or damaged beyond repair. The Cerberus was Earth's last line of defense. She couldn't afford to fail. Mia looked out into the endless black of space, where the scattered remains of the Malthar ships floated like pieces of a broken dream. But the Malthar weren't done yet. Their reinforcements had arrived. Hundreds of Malthar ships, massive and menacing, descended upon her like a swarm of locusts. They were preparing to unleash everything they had left. Mia felt the air grow thick in the cockpit. She had no time to think, no time to doubt herself. This was the moment she had been preparing for. It was all or nothing. Locking onto targets, the Cerberus's voice announced, its calm tone betraying the chaos outside. Mia's hands moved over the controls instinctively. She guided the Cerberus forward, its engines roaring to life as it shot into space. Her heart hammered in her chest, but her mind was sharp. The Malthar were relentless, but so was she. They had underestimated her before, and they were about to make the same mistake again. The first wave of Malthar ships opened fire. Energy blasts rained down from the sky like deadly lightning. Mia's fingers danced across the console, activating her shields just in time to absorb the first few blasts. The Cerberus shook with each impact, but Mia didn't slow down. The power of the Malthar's fire was immense, but it wasn't enough to break her. She fired back, sending wave after wave of energy into the Malthar fleet. The Cerberus's weapons hummed with power as the blasts tore through the Malthar ships. One by one, they exploded into balls of flame and debris, their massive forms disintegrating under the sheer force of the human-made weapon. But there were too many of them, too many ships, too much firepower. Mia could feel the strain on the Cerberus as the battle wore on. Her energy reserves were depleting fast. The Malthar were relentless, and they were learning. They had adapted, responding to her every move with brutal efficiency. They had seen her tactics, and they knew how to counter them. Energy reserves critical, the Cerberus warned. Mia's stomach dropped. She couldn't keep this up much longer. She needed to end this. Now. Suddenly, a new voice crackled through the comms. It was General Jor, the Malthar commander. His voice was cold, full of venom. "You are out of your depth, human. You cannot win. You cannot stop us." Mia's jaw tightened. "Watch me." With a determined breath, she activated the Cerberus's most powerful weapon, the one the Malthar had feared, the quantum pulse cannon. It was a last-resort weapon, one that drained almost all of the ship's energy reserves. But Mia had no choice. If she didn't use it now, Earth would fall. The Malthar would return, and there would be no one left to fight. The Cerberus shuddered as Mia activated the cannon. A blue glow enveloped the ship, the energy building up in the core. She could feel the power coursing through the machine, the very essence of destruction ready to be unleashed. The Malthar fleet, still closing in, was about to be on the receiving end of humanity's greatest weapon. Mia aimed the pulse cannon at the heart of the Malthar fleet, her eyes narrowing as she focused on her target. The cannon hummed, its energy building to a crescendo. With one final push, Mia pulled the trigger. A wave of energy burst from the Cerberus, a blinding blue beam of raw power that streaked across the sky like a comet. The first Malthar ship it hit disintegrated in an instant, its hull vanishing in a flash of light. The pulse continued, tearing through the Malthar ships, one after another. It was unstoppable. Nothing could withstand it. The Malthar fleet began to scatter. Ships were torn apart by the pulse, their structures crumbling under the overwhelming force. In moments, the once mighty fleet was reduced to nothing but wreckage. The Cerberus was silent now, its weapons drained, its energy reserves gone. Mia could feel the weight of exhaustion settling in, but she didn't care. She had done it. She had saved Earth. Her comms crackled again, this time with a message from General Jor. His voice was filled with disbelief, tinged with a hint of fear. This can't be. But Mia didn't wait for him to finish. She cut the comms and looked out into space. The Malthar had been defeated. Earth was safe for now. But as the last of the Malthar ships disappeared into the void, Mia knew the war wasn't over. This battle was just the beginning. The Malthar would return, but humanity would be ready. Because Mia had shown them something they would never forget. Humans didn't just survive. They fought back. And they won. Mia stared out into the endless void of space, her hands still gripping the Cerebrus's controls, though the battle had long since ended. The vastness of the universe stretched out before her, silent and unforgiving. Around her, the remnants of the Malthar fleet drifted like broken shells, their once mighty ships reduced to floating debris. The warships that had threatened Earth, that had promised destruction, were now nothing more than burned-out husks. But Mia couldn't feel the relief she thought she would. Instead, she felt empty. The victory, the one she had fought so hard for, didn't bring her peace. It only left her with the weight of what had been lost. Her energy reserves were gone. The Cerebrus was still intact, but its systems were failing one by one. She had pushed the ship to its limits, perhaps too far. She had given everything to stop the Malthar, but now she wasn't sure if she could even make it back to Earth. The comms crackled to life, pulling Mia from her thoughts. It was General Richards. "Mia, do you copy?" His voice sounded strained, worried. "I copy," Mia replied, her voice rough. She swallowed hard, trying to shake off the exhaustion that was weighing her down. "I stopped them. The Malthar fleet is gone. It's over." For a moment there was silence on the other end of the line, then Richard spoke again, his voice thick with emotion. "You did it, Mia. You saved us. Earth is safe because of you." Mia closed her eyes, feeling the weight of his words sink in. She had done it. She had stopped the Malthar, had fought a battle no one thought could be won, and somehow she had come out on top. The Earth was safe. Humanity was safe. But the cost of that victory. She thought about the people who had been lost, about the families and friends who had died fighting alongside her. She thought about her father, back home on Earth, who would never get to see her again. She thought about the lives that would never be the same. "I didn't do it alone," Mia whispered into the comms. "I had help. The people back home, they're the ones who fought too." General Richards' voice softened. "You're right. The people of Earth will remember your bravery forever. But what about you, Mia? What's your status?" Mia took a deep breath. I'm not sure. The Cerebrus is out of power. My shields are down. I can't hold this thing together much longer." She glanced at the dimming systems on her screen. The Cerebrus was a masterpiece of alien technology, but it had been pushed past its limits. If she couldn't find a way to restore power, she would be stranded in deep space, alone. "Mia, listen to me," General Richards said, his voice filled with urgency. "We're sending a rescue team. They're on their way to pick you up. Just hold on. You've done enough." Mia closed her eyes, letting the words sink in. It felt like a lifetime since she had first taken control of the Cerebrus. It felt like a lifetime since she had been just a kid fixing tractors on her father's farm, dreaming of adventure. Now, that adventure had turned into a fight for survival, a fight she had won. But it had cost her more than she was ready to give. The stars outside the cockpit window twinkled in the distance, so far away, yet they felt closer than ever before. Mia thought of home, of the Earth she had fought so hard to protect. She thought of the people who had cheered her on, who had believed in her when no one else did. She thought of the friends and families who had lost loved ones in the battle, who had sacrificed everything for the same cause. And then she thought of herself. What would she return to? What kind of world had she saved? Would it be enough? Her thoughts were interrupted by a sudden alert. The Cerebrus's energy reserves had hit critical levels. She didn't have much time left. "Mia, General Richard's voice came through the comms again, more urgently this time. "You need to prepare for emergency evacuation. Can you hear me?" "I hear you," Mia said quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. Her hands moved automatically, her fingers trembling as she worked to release the emergency evacuation pod. The controls were sluggish, barely responding to her input. She had never been trained for this, but she had no choice. The pod doors opened with a hiss, and Mia's heart skipped a beat. Was this it? Was she really going to have to leave the Cerberus behind? The ship that had been her partner in the fight, that had carried her through the darkest moments. "Come on," Mia muttered, pushing herself out of the seat. "Don't fail me now." With a deep breath, she climbed into the emergency pod. The cockpit lights flickered one last time before going dark. Mia didn't look back. She couldn't. The pod launched into space with a sudden jolt, hurtling her away from the wreckage of the Cerberus and toward the unknown. The dark expanse of space seemed even colder now, as if the universe itself was waiting for her next move. She didn't know what was going to happen next, but she couldn't afford to think about it. Her mission was complete. She had saved Earth. But in that moment, as she drifted through the silence, she felt the weight of what she had lost. The battle was won, but at what cost? The rescue team's signal came through a few moments later, a faint but steady ping. Mia held onto that signal, focusing on it like a lifeline. It was the only thing keeping her grounded, keeping her from falling into the emptiness. She had won, but her fight was far from over. Mia's eyes fluttered open as the world around her slowly came into focus. The sterile, white walls of the rescue ship surrounded her. The hum of the engines was comforting, almost soothing, after the chaos she had just escaped. Her body felt heavy, like the weight of the entire universe had pressed down on her. Her head throbbed and every muscle in her body ached. She was alive. She had survived. But the world outside was not the same. The Cerberus was gone, destroyed in the final moments of the battle. The Malthar fleet had been obliterated, but Mia didn't feel the triumph she had expected. Her mind kept replaying the faces of the people she had lost: soldiers, civilians, families, friends. Earth was safe, but at a terrible cost. "Mia," the voice was gentle, familiar. It was General Richards. His figure appeared in the doorway, his face lined with exhaustion but also gratitude. "You're awake. We're all so relieved." Mia blinked, taking in the sight of him. She had never expected to see him again, but here he was, alive. The pain in her chest eased slightly as she let herself believe that maybe, just maybe, this wasn't a dream. "I did it," she whispered, her voice hoarse. She didn't know if she was talking to him or to herself. "I stopped them." General Richards stepped closer, a weary smile on his face. "You did more than that, Mia. You saved us all. You showed us what we're capable of. You reminded us that we don't give up, not now, not ever." Mia turned her head toward the window, watching the stars outside. The earth was somewhere far below them, spinning silently in the void. Her mind drifted back to the battle, back to the destruction, the fear, the overwhelming pressure to be the one who carried the weight of humanity's survival. She had done what she thought was impossible, but the victory felt hollow. The Malthar might be gone, but their legacy was. They had taken so much from her, from all of humanity. There would never be enough time to mourn. Not yet. "I didn't do it alone," she said quietly, still staring at the stars. "I didn't win this by myself." The general nodded. "I know, it wasn't just you, Mia. The whole world fought alongside you. You were the spark, the fire that ignited us all. You led us when we had no direction, and now we rebuild." Mia's chest tightened. Rebuild. Could they really rebuild after all of this? Could she? She had been the one to hold the line, to stand in the face of death, to be the symbol of humanity's strength. But what did that mean for her? General Richards saw the doubt in her eyes. "It's going to take time, but we'll make it. You've given us hope. You've reminded us that we're stronger than we ever thought possible." Mia was quiet, processing his words. She thought about the people she had lost: her father, the soldiers who had given their lives. They had all believed in her, and now they were gone. The responsibility of that weight of their sacrifices settled heavily in her chest. She wasn't sure she was ready to carry it. "I don't know how to live in a world without them," Mia whispered, her voice trembling. The general's expression softened. "I understand. You're not alone in that, Mia, but you've made a difference, and that's what matters. You've shown humanity what we can do when we stand together." Mia closed her eyes, letting the warmth of his words wash over her. She had been part of something bigger than herself. She had led humanity to victory, but the road ahead would be long, full of challenges. The Earth would need to heal, just as she did. Outside the window, the stars seemed to shine a little brighter. Mia knew that the battle wasn't over, not for her, not for humanity. There would always be more challenges ahead. The Malthar might be gone, but others would come. There would always be something to fight for. But now Mia understood the strength she had. She knew that humanity wasn't defined by its weapons, its technology, or its armies. It was defined by its will to survive, to fight, and to rebuild. As the rescue ship made its way back toward Earth, Mia let herself relax for the first time in what felt like forever. Her body was exhausted, her spirit drained, but she had made it. She had done what no one thought possible. She had fought back. "I'm ready," she said softly, her voice filled with a new sense of purpose. General Richards looked at her, his face filled with pride. "Ready for what?" "Ready to rebuild," she replied, a determined look in her eyes. "Ready to help Earth heal. Ready to show the world that no matter what happens, we will never give up." For the first time in a long while, Mia felt something deep inside her, a sense of hope. It wasn't the end of the battle. It was the beginning of something new. The Malthar had come and they had been defeated, but humanity had emerged stronger. And now it was time to rebuild. She had led them to victory. Now it was time to lead them forward. And whatever the future held, Mia knew one thing for sure. She would face it with the same courage, the same fire that had carried her through the darkest hours of the war. Humanity would endure, and she would be there, ready to fight for it every step of the way.